Hello, I'm Dr. E. Barry Gordon, and this is the 9th video in my series on the disease testosterone deficiency. This segment will focus on one of the most controversial and confusing medical issues of modern times, HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Most people are aware that this term refers to giving replacement hormones to postmenopausal women. One might think it's an issue involving all three sex hormones produced by the ovaries, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. It isn't. The medical community seems to officially recognize only two of the three ovarian reproductive hormones. As the term is used, therefore, and this is very important to keep in mind, hormone replacement therapy means the replacement of only the female hormones, estrogen, or a combination of estrogen and progesterone. I will use hormone replacement therapy in that sense, and use the term sex hormones to refer to all three, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. Some of you might be wondering what testosterone has to do with postmenopausal female hormone replacement. As you will learn, I believe the so-called male hormone is a key player in this ongoing controversy. For decades now, one study after another has come out on the question of whether hormone replacement therapy causes breast cancer. Each study seemed to have proved the opposite of the one that preceded it. It causes breast cancer. It doesn't. It does. It doesn't. And on and on. The current major study on breast cancer, at least current at the time of writing the script, has been the WHI, the Women's Health Initiative. It's received a lot of publicity. Some women in this study were given estrogen alone, some were given a combination of estrogen and progesterone, and some just a placebo. A few years ago, there was a grand public announcement, front page New York Times, that the entire study was being terminated because it was clear that HRT was giving women breast cancer and heart disease. It wasn't mentioned at the time that those women also had many fewer cases of colon cancer, nor was it mentioned that there was only one more case of all types of cancer among those women receiving hormones as compared to a placebo, nor that there was no difference at all in the death rate between the various groups. I had never believed that two ovarian hormones, which for decades had been a fundamental part of a woman's good health, would suddenly turn toxic and cause breast cancer or heart disease. It just didn't make biological sense to me. Possibly because of that prejudice, at the time of the termination announcement, I had the impression that the researchers, whether they realized it or not, had pre-decided on the dangers of HRT, perhaps were even afraid of it, and had been anxiously awaiting the first opportunity to end the study. Maybe I'm mistaken. Although it didn't make any headlines, the final analysis of that study actually showed that those women receiving estrogen alone had fewer cases of breast cancer than those women receiving no hormones. I'll repeat that. The women taking estrogen replacement alone had 15% fewer cases of breast cancer than those women taking no hormones at all. That difference was judged to not be statistically significant. At least I agree with that. It was concluded that it was only those women taking the combination of estrogen and progesterone who were at higher risk of getting breast cancer, although women taking any hormone were found to be at increased risk of heart disease and blood clots. I think there's a fundamental question about hormone replacement therapy that has not been addressed. Are the adverse side effects of female hormone replacement actually caused simply by the presence of female hormones? In a previous video, I described how the brain controls how much sex hormone is produced by the ovaries and testes. Since I'm only discussing women's hormone replacement therapy today, I'll not make reference to the testes again. Nerve fibers from the brain go into the pituitary, the master gland, which in turn secretes the desired amount of two ovary-stimulating hormones, FSH and LH. These function to regulate how much hormone is made and released by the ovaries. If you'll recall, women commonly begin to lose their testosterone between the ages of 25 and 35. The loss of the female hormones, estrogen and progesterone, probably beginning about 5 to 10 years later. At some point, the levels of the female hormones fall low enough that the menstrual cycle comes to an end. The woman has reached menopause. Now this is important. The postmenopausal woman is left with insufficient amounts of the three sex hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, to maintain a strong, healthy, vigorous sexual life. But these hormones, while low, are not completely gone. Keep that in mind. Meanwhile, what else has been happening in the body? I described in the 5th video of this series that as this ovarian hormone loss progresses, the brain tries to reverse the depletion by increasing the amount of the ovary-stimulating hormones released by the pituitary gland. Postmenopausal women can have up to 600% more FSH in their blood than the highest amount they ever had during their reproductive years. The postmenopausal ovaries are being driven as hard as possible to produce as much hormone as they can. Now the postmenopausal woman, for whatever reason, decides to begin hormone replacement therapy. She starts taking a pill containing estrogen and progesterone. What happens to her hard-working but failing ovaries? When her brain senses that once again she has adequate, younger amounts of estrogen and progesterone in the body, the pituitary stops secreting so much stimulating hormone. Her ovaries then slow down, even go to sleep, and her testosterone levels plummet. It commonly becomes undetectable. Which would simple common sense tell us is more likely to cause medical problems such as breast cancer, heart disease, or blood clots? The re-establishment of previously healthy levels of estrogen and progesterone, or the complete loss of testosterone? There are some answers. Many published studies support what would seem to be logical and obvious. Several, including one from Johns Hopkins, show a strong correlation between the absence of a woman's testosterone and the presence of clogged arteries. In regard to breast cancer, 2 recent studies, including one from the National Institute of Health, have demonstrated that the combination of estrogen and progesterone given to a woman stimulates breast cell proliferation. But if testosterone was added to the combination, breast cells were unaffected and remained quiet. I'll be discussing sex hormones in relation to vascular diseases and breast cancer in much greater detail in future videos. But it seems most logical and likely that the absence of testosterone in the presence of estrogen and progesterone is very irritating to breasts, and I believe other female reproductive tissues as well, and is likely to be the fundamental cancer stimulant. The abstracts of all the studies I mentioned are among the many dozens that can be viewed on my website, www.thehiddendisease.com. All prior videos from this series are also posted there. Once again, as I ask at the end of every video, if you think this subject is of any importance, please email these video links to everyone in your address list and ask them to do the same. Tell your friends and relatives about it. Show them the videos if necessary. You may be giving them a new life. I'm Dr. E. Barry Gordon. Thank you for watching.